I started when I was 8, and I just did a recreational class at the local YMCA where we used to live, which was in Lakewood. Did a couple classes there, went pretty well, and then I just tried out for their team, and then from there just kept doing it, liked it, and then eventually we moved down here for gymnastics, and that's when it really kind of kicked.
So he first started out when we took him to a YMCA to do gymnastics, and he just started out doing rec classes, and then beginner rec, then advanced rec, then all of a sudden pre-team, and then he was on team. So we did team there a couple of years, and after a couple of years, we just knew that he needed to advance to a different coach, possibly to a different gym where he could be more challenged and taught a little bit better. So it was probably a couple years into his gymnastics, we're like, yeah, he has lots of potential with this. We should do something different for him.
I guess I really took it serious around sophomore year in high school. I mean, I really liked it prior to that, but then, I mean, I don't know if this goes for every sport, but I guess for most gymnasts, there's a point where you're like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore because it's a lot of time, a lot of hard work. You're just always in the gym, and that probably happened to me around like freshman, sophomore year.
I think one of the deciding factors too is he played soccer for what, 8-10 years?
Yeah.
8 or 10 years he played soccer, and then at that point it was he had to choose between the two. He couldn't do both anymore because he needed to really invest his time in gymnastics so that he could spend his time doing that.
Probably the first thing that impressed me about Fletcher was watching him with his younger siblings. So maybe it wasn't even gymnastics related. He's a really responsible kid and takes care of the younger siblings and gets great grades and works his butt off in the gym.
I met Fletcher when I started gymnastics, so 6th grade basically, and he was a higher level than I was, and I was kind of like the bottom of the low. But I guess I really started to get to know him like 8th grade when we were more about equal. He's still better than I am, but I was getting up there. I'm definitely getting a little closer to him. So I guess that was the first time that I met Fletcher, really met him. I don't think it's never been done in our gym, and I mean, that's like a strength move that college athletes are doing. So for Fletcher to be doing it a senior in high school, it's quite impressive.
Has there been any skill that's kind of like surpassed all the other skills that you thought like, wow, this is really impressive? Like you've actually thought, like, I am the best.
There's a couple that,
Iron cross.
I guess that is one. Iron cross, that's, I guess every gymnast kind of dreams of that skill, but it's a pretty hard one. They make it look easy on TV, but when you finally do it and try it and train it, it takes a lot of work. So when I finally got that skill, I was like, it made me happy. And then there's one skill too that's called a Maltese, and that's where you're doing, it's on the rings again, where if you're hanging, let's see, this is like you're hanging normal, and you go up above the rings and you kind of lean forward too, and so you're pretty much parallel with the rings. That's a pretty cool skill. And then another one that I really enjoy, I guess, doing, because I know it's a cool trick, it's called a Tkachev, and it's where you do a certain tap and you end up flying over the bar and doing like a mini front flip kind of catching again. So those are probably my top 3 skills that I like. I really enjoyed was we took a trip to Chicago, and this was 3 years ago, and we got done competing. We were just kind of hanging out, and what we did is we ended up doing Chinese fire drills throughout the whole city, where that's where you jump out of the car, run around, hop back in. And so we did that around the city, and it was like 20 degrees out because Chicago is always cold. We went in January, so that was really fun. I mean, just doing all kinds of crazy things in the city. And then that night we actually ended up going to a Chicago Bulls game, a basketball game too that night. And so just kind of like that whole experience was awesome. And we were in a new city, and it was just like, oh, we're so cool. But that was probably, I remember that still. That was a good experience.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we ended up going out to the pier. They have a local pier there, and we ended up like taking our shirts off, taking pictures. We threw them back on, and then we had like a 20-minute snowball fight running up and down the pier too. So that was pretty fun.
So the most frightening one for us, I think, we probably both
Two main
agree
ones
with
that I
this.
can think about.
I can think of the one. So last year at Nationals, so they usually compete 2 days. They competed, it was his very first day, third event, I believe, and it was rings. And he was just going, and all of a sudden his
grip peeled off
of the rings. And he at this point, he's spinning around, so he has no control and doesn't know it's going to even happen. It just happens. And he fell on the back of his neck.
So he fell with
onto
his
the ground.
head going down straight, and then compressed his head and his collarbone and his chin right into his back as he hit the bottom from, what, 10 feet up?
Yeah.
And so yeah, he was a sore puppy that night. He could
he got up and
barely-
kept going. So we didn't think it was as bad as it was, but we knew that something happened because of how he landed. But he just kept going that weekend because it was his junior year, and that's kind of the year then when you get looked at. So anyway, he toughed it out, and he went on, and he did the best routines on a couple of events that we've ever seen him do. Well, we didn't know this until the very end, but he actually never even warmed up those routines in the back because he was so sore
and
so
injured.
He at the very end, his last routine was floor, and he did one little thing where he kind of stepped out or something, and he was a little nervous that could have been the points that could have made it, but all came down to, and he won that event, and that was last year, and he was, I think that helped him. He had struggled for a long time on pommel horse, and then that was his year to finally, figure the pommel horse out and figure out, I can do this. I'm good at this. I can do this, and he did it, and he took first on pommel horse, and he took first in the all around. So we're super proud of him for that one.
How do you find the best way to balance gymnastics and school and a social life?
Probably being organized helps, because I noticed that if I'm not organized, finding my school books might be harder, or I guess not organized too isn't like my schedule, because if I'm off on my schedule, then I have to go, and it just becomes more hectic. So organization really helps, and then just kind of having the attitude that I'm just gonna get it done no matter what, just plow through, because you got to do it eventually. So I know there's a lot of quotes where I say the best time is now, and so that's one I just kind of repeated in my head, was just to get it done so I didn't have to worry about it later.
I probably see him the most hours out of the week because he goes to school, and then he picks me up from school, and then we go to gym for 4 hours, and then we get home, eat dinner, and then he goes into his room till 11 o'clock to do homework, and then that it's just routinely, and we never see him really.
After high school, we go into the Air Force Academy in Colorado, get to compete on their gymnastics team, get to do a lot of different things out there. And then after that, I want to do something in the medical field, but I'm not totally sure yet. It just kind of sounds interesting. I don't know the specifics yet, because I know a lot of people before they go to college, they're like they don't know, and then as they go to college, you kind of find what you're interested in, and so that's what I'm planning on doing. But I kind of have an idea, because I like the aspect of helping people. Plus, medicine seems pretty cool too. So.
Who would win in a fist fight, you or Fletcher?
Probably Fletcher. I don't know that I would want to fight Fletcher. I probably would run away, honestly.
Fletcher.
What's up? Who would win in a fight, you or Alex?
You're probably me.
Who would win in a fist fight, you or Fletcher?
In a fist fight?
Yeah.
Well, only fists? Like if no one cheated? Oh, probably Fletcher.
How would you have to beat him?
How would I have to beat him?
Yeah.
Get a few chairs, maybe a couple knives, a gun. Then that might stop him, I don't know.
Who would win in a fist fight, you or Fletcher?
Probably me, just because Fletcher wouldn't fight. That's not his style. I don't.
You're the first person who said you could beat him.
Yeah, I don't think he would fight, and I wouldn't fight him anyways, just because he's such a nice guy. But